hi ladybugs. I have some crazy girls here. Oh, you guys get to see the twins on camera together. This one here is Tiny Dancer with the black muzzle, and with the brown muzzle, this one here is Chiggy Bear. Tiny Dancer and Chiggy Bear. There's my Tiny Dancer and my Chiggy Bear, huh? There's the twins. There's the twins. They actually are twins. They are litter mates. They are sisters. There was 4 girls born in the litter, and we have half the litter. Because we have 2 of the girls, huh? So there's my girls. Hey, Joey, stop it. So you guys have met the girls before, but I didn't know if you'd seen them together. But here's the girls. Here's the girls. Here's the girls. And the other unique thing about these girls is that they have rough tongues like cats, which is really, really bizarre and freaky. In fact, my vet said he has never, and he's like in his 70s, has never seen a dog with a cat tongue. And they do. They have very rough sandpaper-like tongues, the both of them. And it's really bizarre. So it's kind of weird. But we loved them anyway, huh? So I don't know if they're part cat or what the deal is. There is a condition called burr tongue when puppies, when they're babies and they live on the street and they eat burrs or they chew on them, that it can damage the tongue, and then the repaired tissue can come off like sandpaper. But there are very specific characteristics on the tongue that happen when you have burr tongue, and these girls do not have it. So it's not from burr, and the fact that they both have it is odd, because generally in a litter of puppies, you would only see one puppy who would have the burr tongue condition. It's very, very rare to have multiple puppies. Hey, stop it, Joey. In one litter have burr tongue. And like I said, they're very specific. They have no scar tissue on their tongues. There's very specific markers for scar tissue, and for Nini's getting in the camera now. I don't know if you guys have seen Nini much, because she's usually with Angie, but I'll introduce you to Nini. But anyway, they're a very specific look of a burr tongue because of the scar tissue, and the girls don't have it. There's been no trauma to their tongues. So it's very weird that they both have this scratchy tongue. And I've done tons of research, as has my vet, and we have not been able to find any cases of dogs with sandpaper tongues. Dogs by nature have very smooth, lappy tongues. So it's kind of weird. We don't know what's going on with them. We're going to do a DNA test because I think it'd be interesting to... Joey, stop. No. I think it'd be very interesting to find out what their DNA shows, just because of the tongue issue. But it's just really weird. When they lick you, I can only stand it for a couple of licks, because the sandpaper feeling really scratches my skin. So yeah, like if they, sometimes dogs, if you're laying down, they'll lick your eyes. If they lick my eyelids, it feels like someone ran like a hand sander over my eyelids, because your eyelid skin is very, very sensitive. So Chuggy, get out of there. Chuggy, thank you. She was going into my daughter's room, and I know she doesn't want the dogs in there. So anyway, I just thought I'd share. And you guys have to see how cute Joe looks. He's wearing his red overalls, his white button down, and his bow tie. Doesn't he look cute? Look at this little guy. Look at this little guy. Yeah, look at this little guy. Doesn't he look cute? He's been wearing this for a couple days now. All right, go on, guys. Go. Go on, Chuggy. Go. Go that way. No, go that way. Go that way. Go that way. Anyway, so I just thought I'd share that with you guys as an interesting little tidbit. They have the very sandpaper tongues, and they're... no, you can't sit there, Chug. Here. Nope, there you go. And it's just weird, because like I've had tons of dogs in my life, and I've never had a dog with a sandpaper tongue. I think I'm going to want to put this on somebody. I love this little jammy set. I think it's so cute. It's 0 to 3, so I don't think it's going to fit Kieran. But let me grab Finley. Hold on one second. All right, I got Finley. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you guys about their tongues, because I think it's very interesting. I don't think that a dog could have any sort of cat DNA. Like, I don't think that's humanly possible. But I'm very curious as to what's going on with their tongues, because like I said, I've never seen that before. So this is what Finley is wearing now. Let's get Finley. We're going to put those jammies on him. It probably would have fit Milo, I realized after I stopped the video for a second, but it's okay. We're going to put it on Finley anyway, because I think he'll look cute in that. So, yeah. I had a friend of mine who animated some pictures for me, and I think that is such a cool technology, but it was kind of hard because one of the pictures he animated for me was my mother, and, you know, she's only been gone, you know, 9 months. So it was a little emotional seeing a picture of her moving and smiling. It just brought a lot back for me. I think you know, under a year, no, get down. Under a year is pretty fresh for losing someone, especially someone like your mom. So, you know, I just think it's still fresh. And in time, you know, it'll get a little easier to look at pictures and stuff like that. But I love this. I've actually had this pajamas. I know it looks brand new. I keep all my clothes looking brand new. But I've had these jammies for probably 4 years now. Anytime anything gets a little spot on it or gets a little dirty or whatever, I immediately, Nini, stop it. I immediately soak it in OxyClean, and it just brightens everything right up. I love soaking the baby clothes in OxyClean. I won't wash them because washing in the washer damages the fibers, and that's how come you get that. Like, have you ever noticed when you buy something new, it has that, no, get down. No, it has that crisp looking, like, to it. It's very crisp. Even the colors are very crisp. And then, as soon as you wash it, it loses that crispness to it. Even if it's clean, it loses that new look. You can tell when something's been washed. And that's because washing actually damages the clothes. And so that's why it has a different look after, even if you just washed it once. And so I never wash or dry my baby's clothes. I soak them in OxyClean and water. And then to dry them, I hang them to dry. So that way, you know, they never lose that crispness that looks new, because this looks very new. But it's not. It's been used lots of times. But doesn't he look cute? He needs a hat. He needs a little hat. I need to go down later and find him a navy blue boy's hat, because I think that would be super cute. Nini, no, no. Go lay down right now. I'm doing a video. No. Aiden, keep her back there. Aiden is blocking the way for Nini. I'll show you. He's sitting there blocking the way for Nini, so she can't get by. So anyway, so I have to tell you about Finley. So Finley, I got, I only paid $150 for him, and it was, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago now. And the reason that he was so cheap is because his varnish, if you can see, like right here, see the darker and then the lighter, and then there's more up here. His varnish has been peeling off, and there's more on this side. Like you can see where the dark line is, and then where it's lighter, and then there's more up here on top of his head. Stop it, Nini. But I just fell in love with him, and for $150 I couldn't say no. And then a couple months, maybe 6 months or 7 months after I got him, his other mommy that sold him to me wanted him back, and I just couldn't give him up. I just fell in love with him from the moment I got him, and he is my baby. So I always try to trade back. Okay, so there's only one baby that I truly regret trading, and that is my Sansa. Her name was Danielle. And I just love her. I loved her so much, but I thought she was a smaller baby, and I thought, you know, I'll be okay trading her. I asked if we could trade back when she was in the mail. Like the day that I put her in the mail, I felt instant regret as soon as I sent it out. And I asked if we could trade back, and she said no. And then when she got her, I asked again, and I asked several times over the next like 18 months. But she consistently refused to trade back with me. Evie, go lay down. Go lay down, baby. And that's the only baby I truly regret trading. And I've asked her repeatedly. I offered her 2 babies at times to get her back, and she's just absolutely refused. And I understand. I mean, I made the choice. I'm not in any way throwing shade at the person who has her, because, you know, I made the decision to trade her. That was my choice, and I have to deal with the consequences of that choice. But it's the only baby I've ever regretted trading, and all these years later, I still miss her so much. But eventually, after a couple years of trying to find trades that she might agree to trade back, I finally just gave up and said, okay, she's just gone, and that's it. So, you know, sometimes you have those regrets, and sometimes you just have to come to terms with the fact that you made a bad choice and deal with the consequences of that choice, you know. And that's where I kind of got to. I was like, all right, you know what? As much as I want her back, she's not going to trade her back to me, so I just need to move on with my life, which is what I did. But I still miss her so much. I didn't realize how attached I was to her until, we're going to put this on Milo with the little elephants, until I let her go. And then I realized how attached I was to her. Have you guys ever had that happen where you didn't think you were very attached to a baby, but like the second you let it go, you regretted it to no end? Yeah, that's kind of how I am with her. But I came to terms with the fact that she was gone, and she was going to be gone. So, you know, it is what it is, what it is, what it is. I am huge on accountability and personal responsibility. So, you know, I would never throw shade at the person who has her. So anyway, the reason I told you guys that is because I try really hard to trade back or send a baby back if someone is really hurting. There are a few instances where I was just too attached and couldn't do it, but I do try because I know what it feels like to have baby regret. So I do try to trade back if at all possible when somebody is missing a baby. So yeah, that's just kind of how I feel about it. And I try to do the kind thing in most situations. I don't always succeed because I'm human and, you know, we all make mistakes. But I try in all my endeavors to be kind and to do the more kind action. I don't feel like that gets reciprocated a lot, but I don't do it so that it'll be reciprocated. Do you know what I mean? I do it because I want to be a kind individual. And, you know, it's nice when people if I can talk, reciprocate that kindness, but it doesn't always happen. And that's just the way life is. I think I'm going to put a different diaper on him because he's wearing this one with flowers and bumblebees. And it's kind of like, it almost feels like it's a girl's diaper. No, Nini, no. See, this is what he was wearing. I'm going to save that for a little girl because it's still usable. And we're going to put this diaper on him with Pooh Bear. So, yeah, I always try to do the kind action. Like I said, I don't always succeed because, you know, we're all human and we all make mistakes. But I try to be kind. I try to, you know, make people happy in any situation that I have the power to make them happy in. Because I don't think that there is enough of that in the world where people try to make other people happy. In today's world, what I see is a lot of people trying to make themselves happy. And I think that that's just such a sad state of affairs that we are in our world, you know. Kindness and the golden rule doesn't really exist anymore. No, Nini, no. Sorry, she's pulling the blanket No. Sorry, she was pulling the blanket that the phone is resting on, and the phone went with her. Nini, no. You cannot. Here, play with this diaper. Here. Play with the diaper. There, she found something to play with. Anyway, you know, when I think back on my life, because I am quite a bit older, probably than most of you, one of the things I think about a lot is how much we've lost in our society. I mean, our society has gone from, you know, it used to be the golden rule and people worked hard to get where they are. And now there's a lot of welfare and there's a lot of people just being very self-centered and selfish. And especially this latest generation of kids. I've seen a lot of kids from this generation, not all of them, obviously, but I've seen, this is so cute. Look, she's going to town with that diaper. Goofball. Anyway, I've seen some kids when I'm out and about from this generation, and this gentle parenting movement is just not having it for these kids. You got self-centered, entitled kids who are cussing out their parents in public. You know, my mom, she was like probably 4'11". I mean, she was tiny. And she couldn't have weighed more than 100 pounds. And she never hit me. Well, one time she slapped me, but I wasn't afraid of her hitting me. But I was truly afraid of disappointing my mother. And that was the way most of my generation was. It wasn't that we were afraid we would be beaten, although some kids were, I'm sure. It's that we were afraid to just disappoint our parents, and nowadays there is none of that. There is no fear of disappointing your parents. There is no fear of doing something wrong. Kids have a level of entitlement and a level of a level of like selfishness that they don't even try to hug. If I did, I'm not saying I never did anything wrong. I at times was hell on wheels, but I was always afraid for my mom to find out, like I would try to hide it if I had done something wrong. And today's kids now, they're not even afraid to they do it in front of their parents. And it's such a sad situation with these kids because they just have no shame, no ability to experience embarrassment or shame or any of that stuff. And it's so sad. When I think about these kids that are on TikTok and YouTube are going to be the ones that are going to be running our world in a few years, I weep for the future because these kids most of them are horrible, horrible people with no sense of compassion or empathy for other people, with no sense of right and wrong, with no sense of doing what's in the best interest of a community. I really have a hard time seeing our world in the hands of the kids that I see out and about, And I can't imagine that anything good is going to come from that. All right, here's a pair of shoes. Well, here's a shoe. We're going to put these little gray shoes on him. And it really makes me very nervous for the future because parents today are not raising their kids they're so afraid, like they took, trying out for sports teams out of schools. They basically have taken away any opportunity for these kids to experience any kind of disappointment or having to try for anything, These kids basically get whatever they want, whenever they want it. There are no rules, no standards that we have to live by. And it really is very disturbing for the future. Having to try out for a sports team was more than just trying out for the sports team. It was about making a better version of yourself, about becoming the best person that you could be. And that all taught us lessons. It taught us that we can't have everything we want just because we want it, and that throwing a temper tantrum is not going to change that. But they've gotten rid of all that stuff. And so now we have these kids who think they can have whatever they want, whenever they want, simply because they want it. They don't have to work for anything. They don't have to try for anything. That if they want it, it's like a genie in a magic lamp. It'll just appear in front of them. And that's just not how life works. But parents aren't raising their kids to see that. So it really makes me very nervous. Our world has always been in the hands of the strong and the righteous. Well, not always in the hands of the righteous, but we would hope. And now there are very few that are even close to righteous. So I can't imagine what this next Gen Z is going to do with the world, because I don't think it's going to be good. It's like we've taken away any opportunity for children to try for anything, for children to have to work for anything, and for children to fail, because even though failure doesn't feel good, failure is a part of life. We all fail over and over and over again. That's part of the human condition. It's part of what it means to be human, is that we're going to fail. So we have to learn how to regulate those emotions when we do fail, because it's going to happen. And parents today are not teaching their children the word no, and they're not teaching them how to deal with emotions when they fail or when they're disappointed, any negative emotions really. Parents today want to prevent their kids from having any negative feelings ever. And that's just not realistic to life. even if when you're an adult, your parents are going to continue to take care of you and continue to let you live in their house, and you don't have to pay anything, you don't have to be an adult. Eventually your parents are going to pass away, and you're going to leave these people who don't know how to be adults because they've had mommy doing their laundry their whole lives. It's just a sad state of affairs the world is in. Look at little Milo. Little Milo. I'm glad I put the jammies on Finley because this looks way too cute on Milo. This should be illegal. How cute he looks. See, Milo knows the word no, huh? Milo knows the word no, huh? Yeah. See, mommy tells me no all the time, huh? See, I'm this big. How big are you, Milo? This big. Milo is the Maggie by Natalie Blick. He's such a cute guy. Look at that baby. He's such a handsome fella. Such a handsome little man, huh, Milo? Huh, Milo? Yes, there's my boy. Anyway, so we've gotten Finley dressed and Milo. And now we're going to dress another boy. Let's dress Adeus. Here is little Adeus. There is little Adeus. Joey, you are in the way. I have dog time all the time. When I'm in here, this is not doggy time, okay? This is mommy and baby time. It is not doggy time. I literally spend all day, every day with you guys. I think you can handle it for a few minutes while I do something else. They are incredibly entitled little dogs. Speaking of entitlement, he's back. And he's back. Joey. Look at this face right here. You. And he's back again, huh? Joey's back. Didn't I tell you I was busy? Didn't I tell you I was busy, little man? I want to see if this will fit Adeus. This might be a little big on him because he's not a chubby boy. What size is this? Yeah, I think this is 6 to 9 months. I think this is going to be too big for Adeus, but let's try it on him anyway. Yeah, this is going to be way too big. He's already swimming in it. So let's find something else for Adeus. So, how's everybody doing? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Do you feel like the world is going in a tailspin or not so much? What do you think? My nose is itching. I'm looking for a pair of pants for Adeus. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that, things kind of get back on track, and that as these kids grow up, they get a different sense of what it means to live in a society, but I don't know. I don't see it, because even the 20-somethings nowadays are just entitled, and a lot of them are nasty, and I just don't know where the future's going, Makes me a little anxious to think about our world being in the hands of these people. I don't think any parent wants their kid to be sad or unhappy, but the reality is that those are emotions that kids have to feel. They have to understand how to deal with those emotions. If you leave them in the world without any ability to self-soothe or to deal with any negative emotions at all, then you end up with people who end up on drugs or some other way of self-soothing because they don't know how to soothe themselves. They don't know how to handle negative emotions. Nene, no! They don't know how to handle negative emotions. And so when that time comes that they need to feel those emotions, they just don't know what to do with them. That's why it's important for kids to feel, it's kind of like this, you run to your baby every time it cries, but you have to let the baby cry, not right away, not when they're first born, but within a couple months, you have to let the baby cry for a few minutes. I'm not saying leave a screaming baby for hours and hours on end and ignore the baby, but you do have to wait a few minutes before you run into the room, because otherwise the baby never learns how to calm itself. You know, you have to give the baby a few minutes to deal with its emotions so that it can find a way to self-soothe. And, you know, that's not saying that you do that all at once, or that, you know, you leave the baby for hours and hours on end, but you do have to give the baby a few minutes before you run in. Like when my babies were probably 3 or 4 months, you know, when they're newborns, in order to build that security and trust with the parent, you do have to respond rather quickly. But when they're, you know, 3, 4, 5 months old, you need to give them a few minutes on their own before you respond, to allow them to, you know, feel that emotion and start to learn to regulate it at least a little bit. And that's hard for any young parent to understand or to deal with, to hear your baby cry and not respond. But it's important. And, you know, again, it's just a couple of minutes. You know, at 3 or 4 months, you don't let them cry for hours, but you do wait, you know, 3 or 4, 5 minutes before you go into the room, just to give them a chance to experience that emotion and learn how best to deal with that emotion. There is Adeus. Doesn't he look cute? I love this shirt. It's got one blue arm and one green arm. I just love this shirt. I think it's so cute. There's little Adeus. There's little Adeus. He's such a good boy. Alrighty, guys. Well, I'm going to let you go. I hope you're feeling good. I hope you're doing good. And I'm praying for you. So let's do our quick prayer. If you are not into praying, you can log off now. And the rest of us, we will say a prayer. Lord, I come to you humbly, and I thank you for all of your many blessings. Lord, I was on my way out to the mailbox today, and I saw these beautiful flowers growing on the edge of the street. I saw these beautiful flowers, growing on the edge of the street, and it's just amazing in the concrete how these flowers have found a way through and bloomed through, and it was just so beautiful. And it just shows how life can bloom through adverse situations, even with someone like plowing the ground and laying concrete down and asphalt and sealant and all that, and cars driving back and forth on it. Life finds a way, and that is really miraculous. So Lord, please help everybody watching this video to realize that even in the depths of their worst moments, that life will grow and that something beautiful can come. Help them see the beauty in all situations, even negative ones. And Lord, be with them through their hard times. Hold their hearts in your hands and bring them peace and grace. Through Christ our Lord, amen. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you in the next one. Love you, ladybugs.